Nice here. Today we're going to be doing the build overview for the FT Bushwacker. Now if you guys are new to the channel, I always do a build overview every time I build a plane, and then next time I'm going to go ahead and do the review once I've gotten some flight footage as well as some more notes after flying it. So this plane is really nice FT Bushwacker that I took some time and scratch built over the past few days. Now one thing I must say is that I really wanted a plane that would be a sport plane, would be a 3D plane, would be a cruiser, would be a scale landing, short takeoff and landing, and this thing really fits that bill. I haven't done too much flying with it, however I did get one quick maiden flight in. Sorry for the background noise, but either way, let's go ahead and keep going with the build notes. Now this one took about 3 sheets of foam board, give or take, and I had some extra scraps, so I did it in 2 with the scraps, so I think it worked out really well either way. Now one thing that you're going to need some more foam board for is that each half of the wing is going to take its own sheet of foam board, as well as a fuselage. Since it's a wide fuselage, it's going to take up an entire sheet. So I had to take a rather large scrap to cut out one of my wings on, but it worked out pretty well. So expect 3 sheets of foam board to use with this plane. Now build was fairly simple. You know, you just got the fuselage, you got the wings, you got the landing gear, of course. There's a little tray that the power pod slides onto. I found the hardest part with that was cutting out this little cavity that the tray goes into. And then, of course, when you get back here, you got the horizontal and vertical stabilizers, as well as all the control surfaces. It's your pretty much standard flight test plane. Now, this is a swappable power pod, and you guys know how that works. So very easy to just take off this barbecue skewer back here and just pull the power pod right out. I went ahead and embraced that for this build. Usually I just glue them in, but I think it worked out pretty well for this time, and we'll see if I go ahead and go back and glue it in later. But for now, we're going to stay with the swappable stuff because I want to use this power pod on my glider as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go into electronics, and then if I find anything else I missed, we'll go back to it. So my electronics that I'm using are, here, let me check the wing off first. And there we go, there's one rubber band, and there's 2. Now the electronics I'm using are fairly simple, fairly straightforward. If you guys watch my Scout overview, they're the exact same ones. But we've got the Turnigy D2836-8 1100 kV motor, as well as a ZTW Beatles ESC right down in here. Now I'm using a Spectrum S6210 or AR6210, I believe, for the receiver. Very reliable, has a satellite thing, so I guess it works much better apparently. And then on the servos, we have 4 of the SG90 servos from Bushwacker, and they've really worked well. Very inexpensive if they break, and I feel pretty good about them in terms of reliability. So yeah, and as it goes, we're going to be using some 1300 mAh batteries just for the weight factor. I was able to get it balanced correctly, putting it like right over the landing gear. So I'm pretty happy with that right now, but we'll see if I ever get a 2200. But for right now, I'm just using these 1300s because that's what I have laying around. Now, in terms of durability, I think that this plane is a far superior plane in terms of that. Oh, that didn't really make sense. Either way, so we're going to go ahead and just talk about some things that I find as weak points and some things that I find as really great strengths for this plane. And the first thing that I find as a strength is the landing gear. And let me talk a little bit about that because that's one thing that I was really skeptical about coming into this build. And first, the wheels, they're not great. They do have a lot of play in them, if you guys have noticed, just because you drill out the holes and then they have to spin. So either way, I didn't really think that they were the best, but they were really good in terms of foam board wheels go. So we've got the standard wire landing gear. I went ahead and put this piece of wood over the top to brace it. And then we've got these fairings right here, I believe is what they're called. And they really keep this landing gear straight. So there's not really going to be much flex in this, just like there was in the Scout. And I'm pretty happy with the durability of the landing gear after a few landings. Now, next thing I want to talk about durability-wise is the front end. And that's one thing that I was kind of skeptical about as well because there's only one sheet of foam board right here. And when you kind of come in and there's not as much foam board so close, it's kind of a wider fuselage, of course. So I thought it was pretty good for what it is. And of course we have the fold over on the paper. So I think that is an excellent durability of the front end of the fuselage. Now coming over to the back end is where I think that things will get a little bit more dicey. We have really large control surfaces. You can see how huge this rudder is. And that's one thing that is really close to the ground. As you can see, I can barely stick a finger under it. And I thought that this would be a really weak point if I ever stalled it close to the ground, or if I ever had a rough landing on softer ground where the tail would stick in. And one thing that I also have to complain about is the way that these elevators are designed. And it's like a 3D plane where you guys can see this front part comes up. And I already kind of put a little crease in the foam right there, which I'm not too happy about, but I feel like that could be a weak point in the future. Now, that's pretty much it for the durability. Everything else is rock solid, and I think that it's going to be a great plane that we can just bash over and over again and really be reliable. And if you guys have not picked up on the trend by now after watching some of my videos, I always put some black tape on the very leading edge of my wings. And what that does is that makes it so that if you ever get dirt, mud, or if you ever dent your wings, you can always just wipe it right off, or make sure that the dents, you can always kind of smooth them out with your hands or anything like that. So I really highly recommend putting tape on the leading edge of your wings, and this has kind of become more of like a livery for me. Now, if you guys are wondering about the prop I'm using, this is a 9x47 slow fly prop, which is very, very small for this plane, but I think it had adequate power when I took my one flight of it. So I think I have not really too much to complain about there. So yeah, that's about it for my build overview. Time will tell on how durable this thing is and how it flies after I try to get it trimmed out on a windless day. And yeah, so that's all I have for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for the full review. Like and subscribe, and comment down below which videos you'd like to see next. If you guys would have a specific FT plane you'd like me to build, I would love to do that for you. So just comment down below what FT plane you'd like me to build. So see you guys later.